Welcome. This is
Episode 73, Forbidden Secret Technique, Reaper Death Seal.
Episode 73 begins with Orochimaru questioning Hiruzen's statement of using a jutsu that he doesn't know. Apparently, the Reaper Death Seal has an activation timer, since the Reaper takes his sweet time getting prepared. Since the Reaper isn't ready yet, Orochimaru sticks the Ramas onto Hiruzen, which results in him sustaining even more damage since he isn't capable of relying on his eyesight to evade attacks. Given this,
are you going to show me this jutsu or not?
Hurry! Hurry!
the situation seems rather dire. Although Hiruzen doesn't look that damaged, it's clear he isn't capable of holding on for too much longer. With that in mind, that begs the question, if Orochimaru is the intelligent, evil mastermind that he's been hyped up to be, then why does he attack Hiruzen instead of his shadow clones while they're blinded by the infinite darkness jutsu? If the Ramas ran up and slapped Hiruzen's shadow clones, they'd dissipate, forcing Hiruzen to lose that huge chunk of chakra that he used to create them. Orochimaru literally pointed this out last episode.
Shadow clones? He's going to exhaust what little chakra he has left!
You'll only shorten your life, Sensei. I think your impatience is getting the better of you.
Orochimaru blatantly ignoring the shadow clone screams plot-induced stupidity. The reason I say it's plot-induced stupidity is because if Hiruzen doesn't successfully seal Hashirama, Tobirama, and Orochimaru's arms, the rest of the story doesn't happen, or at the very least, would be severely changed. If Hiruzen failed, Kakashi, Guy, Genma, Kurenai, and those random leaf ninja would have had to face Orochimaru, the Sound 4, Kabuto, Baki, Hashirama, Tobirama, and some Sound Ninja. The only way Team Leaf wouldn't get one-tapped in a nanosecond is if Guy instantly went into the 8th gate after seeing Hiruzen die. In which case, Guy, Kabuto, Baki, and the Sound 4 would all be dead. Orochimaru would be effectively dead as well. It's later revealed towards the end of Naruto Shippuden that Orochimaru lives on through his curse marks and can be revived through them. However, there wouldn't be anyone around to perform that jutsu on any curse-marked individuals, so yes, Orochimaru would be dead as well. With that said, the only reason the Reaper Death Seal works is because Orochimaru decided to ignore Hiruzen's shadow clones. Getting back to the anime, once the jutsu is finally ready to be used, Hiruzen's shadow clones immediately dash towards the Ramas, grabbing onto them and sealing them. Due to the Ramas being sealed, Tobirama's concentration on the Genjutsu is broken. That revelation throws Orochimaru for a loop for reasons unknown. I guess he thought Hiruzen had no way of dispelling the Genjutsu or something like that. Before we move on, I want to call attention to Hiruzen's shadow clones. In the anime, we see this.
I have you!
Which would leave you to believe that the real Hiruzen ran up and got stabbed, since there's blood splatter and Hiruzen winces. When the darkness starts to fade, you can literally see the kunai sticking out of the shadow clone's body, but somehow the clone manages to hold on to Hashirama and completely rip out his soul without an issue. The clone then hangs around for a bit before dissipating, which leads me to believe it only dissipated because Hiruzen released the clone himself. The fact that the clone was able to do that is extremely problematic, but we'll get to that in a little bit. The point that I'm focusing on right now is that isn't how shadow clones are supposed to work at all. But you know what? This actually isn't the first time that this has happened. From every showing that we've had of shadow clones so far, their durability have always been inconsistent. The clearest showing of this is Naruto vs Neji. Neji absolutely brutalizes his clone, yet it doesn't dissipate. It isn't until the clone delivers his one-liner that it finally dissipates. If you think about what just happened for more than half a second, you'd realize that unlike Hashirama, Neji used the Byakugan's gentle fist to strike Naruto's chakra point. By striking that specific point, Neji attempted to stop Naruto's flow of chakra, which would cause Naruto to lose concentration on his shadow clones. The only reason why Neji's plan didn't work is because he hit a shadow clone. However, the clone's chakra point was still hit. The shadow clone literally spits up blood just like Hiruzen's shadow clone, and it still somehow wasn't forcibly dispersed. What gets me is that a few moments later, Neji used his 8 trigram rotation to catch and throw Naruto plus his shadow clone across the arena. Upon hitting the ground, the clone dies. I'm going to pay more attention to how clones work in the future, but for now, I'm convinced clones are as durable as they need to be at any given moment.
Forgive us, Sarutobi.
We made your life difficult.
Although you aren't able to see the full surrounding context of that clip, you saw exactly what you needed for me to make my point. That point is, the anime took away from the emotional weight of this scene by keeping the Rama's eyes normal. In the top panel, we can't see Hachirama's left eye, so that leaves us with the red one. However, we can see the bloody kunai sticking out of Hiruzen's shadow clone. Hachirama saying, "So sorry, Sarutobi," is much more personal since Hachirama stabbed him with a bunch of kunai. Manga Hachirama is owning up to what he did versus anime Hachirama.
Forgive us, Sarutobi.
You sacrificed your people.
Yeah, he literally didn't need to sacrifice Zaku and Kin. Manga Hiruzen put it slightly better since he concluded with making a mockery. Orochimaru could have easily grabbed some random Leaf citizens to sacrifice, but instead he used his obedient soldiers. After seeing Orochimaru's sacrifices, Hiruzen has a flashback to messages Hashirama and Tobirama gave to him in the past. I'm not exactly sure when Hashirama gave his speech to Hiruzen since it was off screen, but Tobirama's speech definitely wasn't said to Hiruzen when he was a kid. It was given right before Tobirama sacrificed himself so the rest of his squad could escape. The anime has Hiruzen say this after the flashback.
You were meant to guide them, not toy with them as if they were dolls.
Then Orochimaru replies before Hiruzen puts his game face on. In the manga, Hiruzen doesn't say anything after he starts crying. He dismisses his shadow clones, yells, "Kamenma!" Then we get to see manga Hiruzen's game face, which is exponentially better than his anime depiction. With Enma in hand, Hiruzen charges Orochimaru and makes quick work of him. Enma attempts to grab Orochimaru for Hiruzen, but is promptly wrapped up by Orochimaru's striking snake technique. That's all fine and dandy though, because Hiruzen blitzes Orochimaru while he's distracted and grabs onto his shirt, allowing the demon to grab his soul. I don't know what sensation Orochimaru felt, but considering he went,
This is bad!
I'm willing to wager it wasn't a good one. Before Hiruzen could rip Orochimaru's soul out, Orochimaru uses telekinesis on his sword to stab Hiruzen in the back. I don't know if Orochimaru stabbing Hiruzen in the back is supposed to be a metaphor for Orochimaru betraying yet another person that trusted in him, but if it is, it works, because he quite literally stabs Hiruzen in the back. If you think about it, he stuck the kunai into the Rama's backs and, well, hey, you know what? He probably snuck up behind Kin and Zaku too. The man is truly a snake. So this may seem like an big level take, but it appears as though Orochimaru's soul was about to be snatched as quickly as Tobi and Hashirama's souls were. However, after Hiruzen got stabbed in the back, the two engaged in a soul tug of war. The fact that that's even possible makes very little sense to me. Allow me to explain. Hiruzen isn't pulling Orochimaru's soul out himself. All he's doing is holding on to Orochimaru while the Reaper is pulling out Orochimaru's soul. The Reaper is its own entity and does not feel anything Hiruzen is feeling. Therefore, it should have been a fairly easy yoinking process. Remember, Hiruzen's clone was stabbed and still snatched Hachirama's soul. It's not as if Hiruzen's shadow clone wasn't weakened in any way, because when he gets stabbed he winces. That means he felt some sort of pain, which, you know, should weaken him. And yeah, that still didn't stop him from snatching Hashirama's soul. But you know, we'll get back to that later though, since right after Hiruzen is stabbed, we're taken to somewhere else in the village. I assume we're somewhere near the eastern gate since that's where the invasion began. The giant tri-headed snake is destroying its surroundings uncontested because, as Ibiki states,
It's out of our hands now.
which is accurate, there's nothing he and his squad can do against the snake. That is, until a certain someone arrives on the scene.
Ninja art summoning! Bring down the house jutsu!
Alright, pause it right here. For those of you who haven't finished watching Naruto yet, we're gonna play a little game. Who is the hidden challenger? Is it A, Konohamaru, B, Abisu, C, Iruka, or D, Jiraiya? Comment your answer down below. Now that our little game is done, Jiraiya summons the Battletoad Gamehiro, who easily crushes the giant snake, with a smile on his face, might I add. Going off of this line,
Not that jutsu!
we can conclude two things. 1. Ibiki couldn't hear Jiraiya's voice, so that was just our audience ears. 2. Jiraiya is the only Toad Sage, or at the very least, the only Toad Sage Ibiki knows of, since upon seeing the Toad, Ibiki thinks it must be Jiraiya and it couldn't be anyone else. Ibiki's assumption is correct as we come to find out. I love how Studio Pierrot animated Jiraiya's clothes blowing in the background even though it would have been easily overlooked by casual viewers. Sure, our eyes will be looking up there to see who's on the Toad, but I doubt most people would have thought, wait, why aren't his clothes blowing in the wind? So Ibiki and Jiraiya have a brief back and forth in which we learn Jiraiya knew Ibiki when he was a kid. It's abundantly clear that Random Leaf Ninja has no idea who Jiraiya is until Ibiki says his name. It's after that we get to see Random Leaf Ninja's stellar emotional range.
Master Jiraiya.
Jiraiya? One of the Sannin?
Yeah, I was just kidding by the way. His face is essentially the same as his ain't no way face. After his goofy introduction, Jiraiya says,
So that pain in the neck Orochimaru has finally started. Where's Hokage?
Which really grinds my gears. It looks like Orochimaru started. Where are Hokage? Like, it's just... Man, Jiraiya knew Orochimaru was going to attack but neglected to be present when the attack started. Literally everyone at the arena could be dead right now. Kakashi, dead. Guy, dead. Kurenai, dead. Sasuke, dead. Naruto, the son of the 4th Hokage, the kid who he knows Orochimaru interacted with due to the sealing jutsu on his stomach. The bearer of the 9 tails, which is quite essential to the village, just apparently matters not to Jiraiya. I mean, Minato died to steal half of the 9 tails into himself and the other half into Naruto to ensure that the village would have the 9 tails, knowing that Naruto would need to master the 9 tails power if the world ever had a chance at obtaining peace. It was all entrusted into Naruto, and by extension into Jiraiya. Like, he's supposed to keep him safe. He can't just let him die. Yet none of that, he just forgot. I don't know. It's just an afterthought to Jiraiya, apparently, because he just didn't show up. Like, Naruto's dead. Everything Minato sacrificed his life for, gone. Oh, and I almost forgot. This makes everything I just said even more damning for Jiraiya's character.
The battle arena.
I see. Don't die on us, old man.
After Jiraiya is finished pretending that he cares about the village and the well-being of anyone who resides in it, we're taken back to the battle arena. Studio Pierrot was kind enough to give us a recap while also filling in the blanks. Even though some may see this as a pointless recap or as an excuse to pad the episode's runtime, I think it was a nice addition to the show. We're shown practically the same thing as before, with Hiruzen grabbing Orochimaru's shoulders, Orochimaru using telekinesis on his sword floating behind Hiruzen, and Enma laying on the ground entangled by Orochimaru's snakes. The Reaper pulls on Orochimaru's soul. Orochimaru's sword flies at Hiruzen. Enma army crawls, extends his arm. Then there's blood splatter. The screen then dips to white before revealing that Enma caught Orochimaru's sword. That leads the viewer to believe Hiruzen didn't get stabbed by the blade because Enma caught it. The slow pan upwards on Orochimaru's distraught face leads us to believe he's out of options since his soul will be ripped out in a few seconds. However, we see Hiruzen's face right after Orochimaru's. Seeing Hiruzen immediately made me go from "Hehe, we got this in the bag" to "Wait, what?" It's then revealed that Enma was too slow and couldn't stop the blade from piercing Hiruzen. Considering Enma couldn't make it, those snakes had to be pumped full of chakra. If they were just any ordinary snakes, there's no way they'd be able to restrain him that well, because Enma certainly isn't a slouch. Going based off of Orochimaru's question, he never actually intended to hit Hiruzen with his sword. Orochimaru's true plan was to get Hiruzen to release him so that he wouldn't get hit by the blade. The problem with that is the sword would still be flying straight at Orochimaru, so he would either need to dodge as well or possess the ability to instantaneously stop the sword's motion. Now, what would have been hilarious is if the Hiruzen that got stabbed was revealed to be a shadow clone, then the real Hiruzen jumped out from behind Orochimaru and grabbed him again. That's definitely some Naruto level tactics, but you know, it still would have been pretty funny.
Old man, why didn't you dodge it?
Hiruzen responds to Orochimaru with, "The caster must hand over their soul to the god of death for the jutsu to work. It's a sealing jutsu. It requires a complete sacrifice of one's life. That's why I didn't evade your blade. I'm going to die anyway." Upon hearing that, Orochimaru decides it's high time to get out of there when he comes to the realization that he can't use any of his jutsu. He then looks down to see his soul slowly being ripped out of his body. Hiruzen narrates with,
Inch by inch, your soul will be dragged out of you.
but once again, why is Orochimaru's soul being dragged out inch by inch? Tobirama and Hachirama got yoinked and there were 2 shadow clones doing the yoinking. One of the shadow clones had 4 kunai piercing his whole body, yet the shadow clone still yoinked the soul. Is the Reaper getting full and thus getting slower? Hiruzen continues to narrate the extraction process with,
It's nearly halfway out. You'll be able to bid a last farewell to your soul, but not to your suffering.
He furthermore explains that the souls consumed by the Reaper are sealed forever. During Hiruzen's explanation, we're shown Orochimaru who is absolutely molding over his current predicament. After Hiruzen finishes his speech, Orochimaru looks up and sees the Reaper floating behind Hiruzen. Orochimaru sees a spiritual body being held by the Reaper, with one head that then splits into 4. The souls are absolutely abysmal in the anime. I can't even come close to depicting who those souls are supposed to be. The manga makes it much more clear, which I am thankful for. If you haven't deduced it already, the 4 souls are Minato, Tobirama, Hiruzen, and Hashirama. That's the 4th, 2nd, 3rd, and 1st Hokage, all sealed by the same high level jutsu. Considering that they aren't enemies, I wonder what they did the whole time they were in there. Since they can't really die and are quote unquote doomed to fight for all of eternity, that likely is the explanation as to how Hiruzen obtained KCM. He had all that time in the world to battle Kurama just like Naruto did. Returning to the anime, Orochimaru watches the Reaper cut the heads off the soul body and devour the souls. Orochimaru goes into full panic mode and yells,
You old fool! Do you really think I'll just stand here like a frightened child and do nothing?
well, yeah. Considering he's supposed to be immobilized and incapable of performing jutsu, that's exactly what Hiruzen should expect. After that, we're taken back to Konohamaru and the gang being evacuated. The scene really only serves as a, "Hey, remember these guys?" moment. In other news, Sasuke catches up to Gaara and Kankuro. Although both are visibly tired, they still try to maintain their macho man appearances.
You through running away?
Who says I was running?
We can pardon Sasuke, but our man Kankuro is delusional. He was quite literally running away from Sasuke the entire time. That's why they're not in the tournament arena anymore. Just before Kankuro prepares to fight Sasuke, Temari jumps through the trees, revealing she's still alive. She then says this,
Guess I didn't delay him for very long, did I?
which is 100% true. Remember that time she could have stalled Sasuke for longer but decided not to? I do. Good times. The scene then transitions to Team Pakkun. Pakkun informs Naruto and Sakura that Sasuke has finally caught up to them, to which Sakura replies,
At last!
which is a complete change of heart since in every other instance she's been disheartened when hearing about Sasuke gaining on Team Baki. Naruto is still Naruto though. He is probably the most insistent character. His one-track mind cannot be defeated. Don't believe me? Watch this.
Sasuke!
That singular clip is Naruto for the next 400 or so episodes. Don't believe me? I'm just gonna have to tune in to the next 400 or so videos I release, so you can verify for yourself. I don't make the rules. Jumping back to Sakura's characterization, we can grant her some grace, since after Pakkun mentions the possibility of a fight, she does flip-flop.
Be careful, Sasuke.
Pakkun also notices something else.
What are all these other smells? A bunch of them, all converging on the same spot.
He then informs Naruto and Sakura, which throws the whole party for a loop. Pakkun, being unable to answer any of their questions, tells them the only thing he knows for certain.
It isn't human.
In hindsight, this foreshadowing is pretty good. I'll expand on it a little bit though. We then cut back to Sasuke v Team Baki. For some absurd reason, Temari goes,
I've got this, Kankuro. Get Gara out of here! Go on!
I don't want to do this to her, but
What the? A substitution? I've got this, Kankuro.
I've got this, Kankuro.
I've got this, Kankuro.
knowing that Tamari is in no shape to fight, Kankuro tells Tamari to run with Gaara while he fights Sasuke. I'ma be completely honest, if Shino didn't arrive, Kankuro definitely takes the W. I know I said this before, but originally I only mentioned Sasuke being nicked by the poison weapons, but I completely forgot about Kankuro's poison mist. I can't see Sasuke just not being nicked or inhaling any of that. Unlike Sasuke, Shino had a pretty good matchup against Kankuro. Speaking of Shino, that leads into the foreshadowing that I mentioned earlier. Those extra chakra sources following Sasuke were Shino's bugs. I think it goes even deeper than that though. Back in episode 40, Neji uses his Byakugan to peer inside of Shino's body. That's when the secret of the Aburame clan is revealed. Going off of that, it's likely that Bakun wasn't just smelling Shino. Instead, he was smelling the massive insects that are inside of him. It gets even crazier when you think that Bakun, with his hound nose, didn't say that there were some extra chakra sources or something not human and a human following him, so that means the bugs completely masked his scent. After disclosing how he tracked him so well, Shino tells Sasuke to split since Sasuke's match versus Gaara is unresolved, as is his match against Kankuro, since it never began in the first place. Sasuke agrees to leave, then promptly departs. Kankuro knows Gaara will be awake soon, so he warns Shino in an attempt to instill fear.
Imagine something more monstrous than your worst nightmare, only it's real.
Shino doesn't particularly care for any of that though, so naturally he squares up. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like on your way out so this video can spread to more of our fellow shinobi. I'll see you all in the next video. Deuces.